Okay, today we're talking about solving proportional relationships. This is chapter 1, lesson 6. We have two definitions that I'd like you to write down in your notes. We have proportion, which is an equation stating that two ratios or rates are equivalent, and cross product, the product of the numerator of one ratio and the denominator of the other ratio. The cross products of any proportion are equal. So go ahead and pause this and take a moment to write this down. Okay, go ahead and follow along. Katie and some friends want to buy fruit smoothies. They go to a health food store that advertises a sale of 2 fruit smoothies for $5. Fill in the boxes to write a ratio that compares the cost to the number of fruit smoothies. Okay. So they're paying $5 for 2 fruit smoothies. We put 2 smoothies and $5. So it's $5 for 2 smoothies. Suppose Katie and her friends buy 6 fruit smoothies. Complete the ratio that compares the cost to the number of fruit smoothies. So instead of 2 smoothies, we're now getting 6. So we're multiplying this by 3. So we have to do the same thing with the cost. So 5 times 3 is 15. So it'll be $15 for 6 smoothies. Is the cost proportional to the number of fruit smoothies for 2 and 6 smoothies? Explain. We're going to say yes. And here's why. Our 5 over 2 that we get up here, $5 over 2 smoothies, equals, when we write that as a decimal, is 2.5. Okay. And when we do 15 over 6, which we get right here, that equals 2.5. So since the ratios have the same value, the cost is proportional. To the number of smoothies. Because it doesn't matter how many smoothies we buy, the cost is always going to be proportional to the amount of smoothies. Okay, so a proportion is an equation stating that 2 ratios or rates are equivalent. So let's look at this numbers example. 6/8 is equal to 3/4. Well, we know that if we simplify 6/8, that will equal 3/4. So let's think of our cross products now. When you take your cross products, you are multiplying across your equal sign. So that is 6 times 4, and then you put your equal sign, 8 times 3. Well, if these really are proportional, then this will be true. What is 6 times 4? That's 24. 8 times 3 is 24. Does 24 equal 24? Yes, it does. So when our fractions are really equivalent, when we multiply across, you multiply numerator times the denominator, okay, is what we're multiplying, then they should equal the same. So this is beneficial because this will help us to figure out the value of an item we don't know. So if we had 6/8 is equal to 3 over x, let's say we don't know what this denominator is. We can figure it out by cross multiplying. Okay. So this would be 6 times x, so 6x is equal to 8 times 3, which is 24. And you have to remember back to last year solving one-step equations. You do the opposite of what's happening. So this is multiplication. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So we divide both sides by 6, and we're left with x is equal to 4, which if We know from up here that that's correct. So we can find out missing numbers when we're able to cross-multiply our proportions. Okay, go ahead and copy this down. Take a moment to do that. After 2 hours, the air temperature has risen 7 degrees Fahrenheit. Write and solve a proportion to find the amount of time it'll take at this rate for the temperature to rise an additional 13 degrees Fahrenheit. So go ahead and copy this down. Okay, so let's set up our fractions. We want to set up our fractions, our proportions. So we're going to do the temperature over the time. Okay. So our temperature rose 7 degrees in 2 hours. I'm going to set that equal to, they want it to rise an additional 13 degrees. So 13 degrees over, we don't know how many hours, so I'm just going to use x. X is one of the most commonly used variables that you see with math, so I'm going to use it a lot. So now I just need to cross multiply. So I have 7 times x, which is 7x, is equal to 2 times 13. Okay, so I'm just going to write 2 times 13. So that's 7x is equal to 2 times 13 is 26. Okay. So I can't think just off my head, okay, 7 times what equals 26? It's not going to be a whole number. So that's where your solving one-step equations come into play. Okay. What's happening between the 7 and the x? That's multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide both of these by 7. So x is equal to, I've got to figure this out, so I have to use long division. How many times does 7 go into 26? It goes in 3 times. That's 21. 26 minus 21 is 5. I'm going to add a decimal and a 0. How many times does 7 go into 50? It goes in 7 times. It's 49. So I'm going to subtract. So it's 1. I'm going to add another 0. How many times does 7 go into 10? 1 time. Okay, so I'm left with 3. And I'm going to stop here and I'm going to round the nearest 10. So when you're looking to round, you're looking at if your number is 5 or larger, it'll make the previous number go up. If it's 4 or smaller, it just disappears. So let's look at our hundredths spot. This is a 1, so that means it's just going to drop off, and when I round, I'm going to end up with 3.7. But because I rounded, I need to change my equal sign to an approximately, which is just a squiggly equal sign. That squiggly equal sign means that it's approximately. That tells me that I rounded. Okay, so x is equal to approximately 3.7. So, they want to know how long it'll take for the temperature to rise an additional 13 degrees. It will take about, because we rounded, 3.7 hours. So there's my answer. And with these, so this is just so you can kind of help you understand it. So with these ones, if you did x is approximately 3.7 hours, I would take this as well. This is fine. It's math class, so whenever we don't have to write a sentence, we'll avoid it. So I'll take either one of those would work for this. So we're cross-multiplying and then dividing. So let's look at A together. Copy that down. We have x over 4 is equal to 9 over 10. My x is up here in my numerator this time. It could be anywhere. So I'm going to cross multiply x times 10. That's 10x is equal to, what's 9 times 4? 9 times 4 is 36. So I'm going to divide both sides by 10, because that's what's in front of my number. 36 divided by 10. I know that when I'm dividing by 10, I'm really just moving my decimal one place to the left. But let's work this out so you can see that as well. How many times does 10 go in 36? It goes in 3 times. So I'm going to subtract 30, and I have 6 left over. 10 doesn't go to 6, so I'm going to add a decimal and a 0. How many times does 10 go to 60? 6 times. Okay, so dividing by 10 is the same thing as just moving our decimal to the left once. So x is equal to, and I didn't round, it's zeroed out, so I didn't round, so I'm actually using the equal sign. 3.6. So there's my answer for A. So go ahead and pause this and work on B and C for a moment, please. Okay, so let's solve B. So we're going to cross multiply 2 times y is 2y. 34 times 5. I don't know that off the top of my head, so I'm going to work that out. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 3 is 15. Plus 2 is 17. So it's going to be 2y is equal to 170. My next step is to divide by 2. So I have y is equal to, I need to think, what's 170 divided by 2? How many times does 2 go into 17? Goes into 17 8 times. So I'm going to subtract 16 here. How many times does 2 go into 10? Goes in 5 times. So I've zeroed out, so that's good. So I can use equals, so y is equal to 85. Okay, so let's look at C now. We cross multiply 7 times 21. I don't know what that is offhand. So I'm going to multiply that. 7 times 1 is 7. 7 times 2 is 14. So that's 147. So 147 is equal to 3 times n is 3n. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3 by your letter in front of your number. Your coefficient, if you remember back to last year, your coefficient is your letter in front of your number. So 147 divided by 3. So I'm going to do some long division here. How many times does 3 go into 14? It goes into 14 4 times. That's 12. So I subtract 14 minus 12 is 2. How many times does 3 go into 27? 9. 3 times 9 is 27, so it's zeroed out. So, have 49 is equal to n. Can I rearrange this and write it as n is equal to 49? If I wanted to? Yes. These are the exact same thing. They're the exact same way. Well, you're just flipping it. So, but it works. Okay, so there are your answers for those. So if you got them right, good job. If you got them wrong, fix them, please, so that you have the correct answers and you can see where you made your mistake. Okay, copy this down. If the ratio of type O to non-type O donors at a blood drive was 37 to 43, how many donors would be type O out of 300 donors? So pause this for a moment and write this down. Okay, we're going to set up our fractions. So our ratio is type O out of 300. Okay, so our ratio is going to be type O over the total number of donors. So for here, type O to non-type O, this is 37 had type O. So what do I put on the bottom? I need the total. So I have to add 37 plus 43. Because this is non-type O and this is type O. So to get my total, I have to add them together. This is going to equal, we're trying to find out how many type O we have, so I'm just going to put an X, out of 300 total donors. So I'm going to rewrite this, 37 over 37 plus 43. That's going to be 80. Is equal to x over 300. So I'm going to cross multiply. So I'm going to put 80x is equal to, I need to multiply 300 times 37. What's 7 times 0? 0. I have two zeros. 7 times 3 is 21. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 3 is 9. So that's 0, 0, 1 plus 0 is 1. 9 plus 2 is 11. So I have 80x is equal to 11,100. So next, I'm going to divide both sides by 80. So both of these end with zeros, so I can get rid of a 0. That's the same thing as dividing it by 10. So my 80s will cancel out, so I need to figure out. I now have 1,110 divided by 8. How many times does 8 go into 11? Within one time. So 11 minus 8 is 3. I'm going to bring down this 1. How many times does 8 go into 3? I'm sorry, how many times does 8 go into 31? It goes in 3 times. So that's 24. I'm going to carry my 1. 11 minus 4 is 7. I'm going to bring down my 0. How many times does 8 go into 70? It goes in 8 times. 8 times 8 is 64. So I'm left with a 6. I have to add a decimal. How many times does 8 go into 60? It's going to go in 7 times. That's 56. And so I have 4 left over. I'm going to add another 0. How many times does 8 go into 40? That's 5 times. So now it's zeroed out. So x is equal to 138.75. But what are we talking about? Let's go back. We're talking about donors. What are donors? Those are people. Do you have 0.75 of a person when you're counting people? You don't. So we need to round this. Okay, so we're going to round this up. So our answer will be x is approximately, because I'm rounding, 139 type O donors. So here's our answer. The ratio of 7th grade students to 8th grade students in a soccer league is 17 to 23. If there are 200 students in all, how many are in the 7th grade? So you're going to copy this. This is similar to the one that we just did. You have to find out your total. Okay. So you're going to use your ratio to figure out your total. So go ahead and pause this and take a moment to try and solve it and figure it out on your own. Okay, I'm going to set up my fractions. So 7th grade students to 8th grade students. If there's 200 in all, how many are in the 7th grade? So this is going to be 17 over 17 plus 23 is equal to x over 200. So let's figure out 17 plus 23. So we're going to rewrite our fractions. Switch colors. So I have 17 over 40 is equal to x over 200. My next step is to cross multiply. So I have 40x is equal to, I need to multiply 200 by 17. What's 7 times 0? That's 0. And we have 2 of them. 7 times 2 is 14. 1 times 0 is 0, and there's 2. And 1 times 2 is 2. So I'm going to add now. 4 plus 0 is 4. 2 plus 1 is 3. So I have 40x is equal to 3,400. So now I need to divide. I'm going to divide both sides by 40, or my coefficient. So that's gone. I have 3,400 divided by 40. They both end with zeros. So let's get rid of a 0 each. So now I have 340 divided by 4. That's so much easier to divide. How many times does 4 go into 3? It doesn't. How many times does 4 go into 34? That's 8. That's 32. So 4 minus 2 is 2. I bring down my 0. How many times does 4 go into 20? 5 times. So now I've zeroed out. So my x is going to equal 85 what? We're talking about students. So 85 students are in the 7th grade. Okay. So you can also use the unit rate to write an equation expressing the relationship between two proportional quantities. Okay, so we're going to use our units. Copy this down. Olivia bought 6 containers of yogurt for $7.68. Write an equation relating the cost C to the number of yogurts Y. How much would Olivia pay for 10 yogurts at this same rate? So the first thing we have to do is find out our unit rate between the cost and the containers of yogurt. So this goes back a couple of lessons. So we're putting the cost, $7.68, for 6 containers. So we're going to divide this. 768 divided by 6. 6 goes into 7 one time. There's my decimal. 6 goes into 16 2 times. That's 12. And 6 goes into 48 8 times. So it is $1.28 per container. Okay, so there's my unit rate. So I need that in order to figure this out. So the cost for however many containers of yogurt we buy is going to be however many yogurts we buy times $1.28. So I'm going to write a formula now, create an equation. So my cost is equal to the cost for 1 times however many yogurts they buy, Y. Because if I buy 1 yogurt, then it's $1.28 for 1 yogurt. If I buy 6 yogurts, it's going to be $1.28 times 6, which is going to be $7.68. So here's my formula. So write an equation. So here's the first part. Write an equation. There's the answer to the first part. The second part is, how much would Olivia pay for 10 yogurts? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in 10 for Y. Because Y represents the number of yogurts we're buying. So 128Y, do I just add 10 to the end? No, this is multiplication, so I have to multiply. I'm going to multiply 1.28 times 10. Anything times 0 is 0. 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 2 is 2. And 1 times 1 is 1. And I have 2 decimal places. So the cost for 10 yogurts is going to be $12.80. So you need to have both the formula, your equation you came up with, and the answer to the question they've asked. Okay, here's another example. JC bought 8 gallons of gas for $31.12. Write an equation relating the cost C to the number of gallons of gas G. How much would JC pay for 11 gallons at the same rate? So first we're going to write an equation, then we're going to find out how much she would pay. So our first part, let's figure out what's our cost per gallon. So $31.12 over 8 gallons. So I'm going to divide 31.12 by 8. How many times does 8 go into 31? 3 times. That's 24. So I carry my 1. 11 minus 4 is 7. I'm going to bring down my 1. I have to bring up this decimal. 8 goes into 71 8 times. That's 64. So again, we carry our 1s. 11 minus 4 again is 7. I'm going to bring down my 2. 8 goes into 72 9 times. So it's zeroed out. So that's nice. So my unit rate is $3.89 per gallon. So now we're going to use this information to create our equation. So they want to know the cost, the total cost. So C is equal to the price per gallon, $3.89, times the number of gallons, G. So here's my equation. So I'm done with number 1. Now I'm working on step 2. How much would JC pay for 11 gallons at the same rate? So I'm going to take my equation and plug in 11 for my gallons. I now have 11 gallons. So I'm going to multiply this times 11. So 389 times 11. 1 times 9 is 9. 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 3 is 3. Again, 1 times 9 is 9. 1 times 8 is 8. And 1 times 3 is 3. So I add this together. My 9 comes down. 9 plus 8 is 17. 8 plus 3 is 11. Plus 1 is 12. And then 3 plus 1 is 4. How many decimal places do I have? I have 2. So my cost is equal to $42.79 for 11 gallons of gasoline. So here I have both my equation, which is the answer to the first part, and my solution, which is the answer to the second part. So make sure that you have this copied down. Okay, here's our last got it. Copy this down and do the best that you can to solve this. It says Olivia typed 2 pages in 15 minutes. Write an equation relating the number of minutes M to the number of pages P typed. So you have to create your equation. How long will it take her to type 10 pages at this rate? So your equation needs to be the pages per minute. So go ahead and pause this and take a moment to work it out. And I realized I said that wrong. I'm sorry. It should be the number of minutes per page. Because if she's reading 10 pages, you want to know how many minutes it'll take. So we need to find out how many minutes it'll take her to read 1 page. So I'm going to have 15 minutes for 2 pages. Okay, so we're going to work on our equation first. 15 divided by 2. 2 goes into 15 7 times. That's 14. And then it goes into 10 2 times. Sorry, 5 times. 2 goes into 10 5 times. Okay. So we're reading, it's 7.5 minutes per page. Okay, so I need to create my equation. Write an equation relating the number of minutes, M, to the number of pages, P. Okay. So our total number of minutes will equal 7.5 times the number of pages that we read. So here's my equation. Now I'm going to move on to the second part. How long does it take her to type 10 pages? I realize I've been saying read the whole time. I'm sorry, type. So we're going to plug in 10 pages, so times 10. So we multiply 7.5 times 10, 5 times 0 is 0, 7 times 0 is 0, 1 times 5 is 5, and 1 times 7 is 7. So I add up my numbers. I have 1 decimal place. So the number of minutes it takes to type 10 pages is 75 minutes. Okay, so there's my answer for that one.